Alrighty, guys. Looks like we are live here on the channel. Let me make sure that everything's all good to go. Max, Max, I know you wouldn't miss this. No, let me click that. Max Houghton, it's time to pay up. It is time to pay up, guys. You guys, so today's episode here, this little live stream, I don't know how long we're going to go tonight, guys. So it might only be a little bit because it is just me sitting here. Jake is a father. He's not going to jump on on Friday night. So I just want to go live with you guys for a little bit here and have some fun, talk about whatever questions you guys had for me. And then also live up to my end of the bet. You guys got us to 1,000 subscribers in less than 2 months. Less than 2 months, you guys got us up to 1,000 subscribers. You guys are awesome. And I had to live up to my end of the bet here. Max jumped in and made sure. And so if you guys were not aware of the bet, Max was nice enough to make a beautiful header. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. I think I have it on the brand here. Max made us a beautiful header. Yeah, there it is. That was the header that Max created. I mean, you could tell that Max just is A+ with Photoshop. I mean, graphic design is definitely his passion, as you could tell here in this video, in this picture. So I mean, it looks seamless. I mean, that's actually how my body looks underneath, what I'm wearing typically. So you didn't really have to do much there. Rodrigo's probably got a little extra weight on him in his picture, but yeah, no, I think it's a great picture, and we're gonna make that my my Twitter header. I think I had to do it for the whole. Max, you could jump into the comments here, but I think it was for the whole year, right? I think I had to do it for the entire season. I think. Let me see if I can find the original. Oh gosh, I'm listening to myself on here. Yeah, I think I had to do it for the whole season. Let's see. And yeah, there it is. Okay, entire season. All right, Max, so let's do this. All right, so we'll share screen. Share screen. Oh, I have to go to system preferences real quick. Share screen? No? Okay, I don't know if it's going to let me do it on here. Man, I had this all set up too. Share window? System. All right. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I am having to redo my security and privacy stuff to make sure I can share the screen. So you guys can start dropping questions in the chat if you guys want to there. If you guys are watching on Twitter, if you want to drop questions, you have to go onto the YouTube channel. I don't know, like the service that we stream on here is StreamYard, and it used to let you ask questions from Twitter, but now you have to do it through the YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go to the YouTube channel and subscribe if you guys are there, and then it'll let you go right there and you can ask some questions or whatever you guys can do. Questions you don't want to. Be like Max and just make fun of me. Or Gary here saying that kickers are the best. Oh gosh. All right. So my screen's being a little difficult. So here, I'll just do it right on my phone and I'll show you guys as I'm doing it. Max, your Twitter username is hilarious, right? By the way, I'm getting hot in here. All right, header. Save photo. All right, guys, here we go. So we're going to twitter.com here. I got my header and everything. And we are going to edit that and put this lovely work of art as the header. We got to make sure Rodrigo's face is in there. We'll call it Godrigo Blankenship is the name of this picture. I think that's what we'll call it. And there you go. I just got to hit the save button. And that's going to be my new profile picture, or my new profile header. And there we go. It is official on Twitter. I have lived up to my end of the deal. 1,000 subscribers on the last day of August. You guys did it. And now, look at that. Godrigo Blankenship will sit up there for the entire season. Oh, man. I got to start making more extreme bets here so I can win. Godrigo. Yeah, that was the name I came up with the other day. I was like, I think that fits the picture pretty well. So, Godrigo Blankenship. I'm glad you guys. I mean, again, you guys were awesome getting us up to that 1,000. It was getting kind of close there until the last couple of days. We were at a place where we needed like 10 a day to get up to 1,000 in the last couple of days, and it was like the day before the end of August, you guys just came in and got us up to like almost 1,100 now. So you guys, again, just were awesome. We really appreciate it. We'll go through some questions here again. I know it's Friday night, so you guys are probably doing some other things. And Max put a tweet out there. It is official, Max. It is up there. But yeah, I know it's Friday night, so I didn't want to go too long with you guys here. I know that you guys probably have some other things doing. You're not like me, where my wife's out partying and I'm just chilling at home right now. But yeah, we'll answer some questions. You guys have any questions? It could be football related, whatever related, anything about the podcast, even. Happy to open up and talk about or whatever. This is your chance to interact with at least me. And again, if Jake, and the Facebook thing. And again, yeah, if Jake is ever free on like a Friday night or something like that, we'll try to do some more of these Q&As. Q&As are a little weird when it's just one person because I'm just talking to my Ring camera basically. But again, happy to do this for you guys and do that profile change. Gary obviously had to throw in that kickers are the best. I guess I'm legally required to say that they are just for the sake of this episode. Again, Godrigo Blankenship is my header, so who am I to talk right now? So yeah, kickers I guess are the best. You can't fight that. Sarah says I'm ready for the Colts season. Let's beat the Jags. Titans go win the South. They do have to finally win the South. I think I've been saying a lot this year that you want to see them just win a playoff game because it's been a couple seasons, ever since the 2018 year, the Colts have not won a playoff game. They've only been once since 2018, since Andrew Luck. And you want to see them at least win a playoff game, but I feel like you got to get over that hump of finally winning the division. I mean, they've been close. A couple of times they've been right there, but they got to win the division this year, especially with, this is the most all-in we've seen the Colts under Chris Ballard and Frank Reich. They got Matt Ryan, they got Yannick Ngakoue, they got Stephon Gilmore. Like you gotta win that division. There's really no excuses. So yeah, I agree, Sarah. I think ready for them to win the South. I think we all are right now. Nav 454 between the Jags and Texans. Who do you think we most improved? I like the Jaguars, man. I kind of like the Jaguars, and I think it's probably because I'm higher on Doug Peterson than most people. I think Doug Peterson's a very good coach. I don't think he's like a perennial Super Bowl coach or like a coach that will elevate your roster to these elite heights or anything like that. But I think he's a really strong coach. He did a lot of good things with those Eagles teams. And when you're talking about coaching changes, I don't know if you get a bigger upgrade than going from Urban Meyer, who is arguably the worst coach we've ever seen in the history of football, to Doug Peterson, who has won a Super Bowl and has had a lot of good success in the NFL. So I want to say the Jaguars, and I like some things they've done. Trayvon Walker coming in, Trevor Lawrence getting the second-year boost, Travis Etienne coming back. I like the Jaguars. Texans, I think they're a year away from being a year away. I think that's what someone with the podcast network said on one of our crossover type shows. So I think that's a good way to put the Texans. They're on the right path, but I don't think they're there yet. I think the Jaguars can be like a 7, 8, 9 win team. And I definitely think they're going to beat the Colts in Jacksonville again because it just always happens. But I think the Jaguars are a pretty solid team. I like them this year. We got Spook Chill Joe. Do you think Sam will see any playing time this year? I don't think so. I think he'll be inactive for almost every game. I will say I hope he doesn't see any playing time, because if he is playing at all this year, that means something bad happened with Matt Ryan. We might see like a Jacoby Brissett type package at times where it's like get in there and run a little bit or whatever. I personally, I wouldn't do that. I don't want to see that. I don't know. For me, if Matt Ryan's playing well, right? I mean, if Matt Ryan sucks, that's whatever. But if Matt Ryan's playing well, I don't want to take the ball out of his hands. It's why I kind of hated the Jacoby Brissett package outside of quarterback sneaks, because Jacoby Brissett was amazing on quarterback sneaks. Fine. Even if the defense knew it was coming, nobody was stopping him. So cool, bring him out there to sneak. But when they brought him out there in that 2020 season for like read options and stuff like that, it was so clunky and awkward, and it just took the rhythm out of the offense every time. I don't really know why they did it, and I don't want to see the same thing with Sam Ehlinger. So I really hope they don't do that, and I hope Sam Ehlinger doesn't play one snap this year, because I'd much rather see Matt Ryan be healthy and successful for the entire season. Max talked about Godrigo. Colts Facebook wasteland to get those followers up. Yeah, Colts Facebook. I love them. They're just kind of psychotic, but we always love the Facebook people. I was so active on Facebook until like 10th grade, and then I was kind of done with it. But look, we love Facebook. We love anyone who's a crazy fan. I mean, I venture over to Colts Reddit a lot. Those guys are psychopaths, but they're very fun, lovable psychopaths. So I can't complain too much. All right. Does Bernhard Raimann supplant Matt Pryor this season? I could see it. I'm not going to come out and say that he will, because I do like Matt Pryor, and I think Matt Pryor is, at the very worst, Matt Pryor is a solid pass protector and a very good run blocker. We saw that a lot this preseason as well. Matt Pryor looked really good in the run game, although he had a couple of struggles in the pass game. But I think Bernhard Raimann could supplant him, especially if there's some struggles, or maybe, we see it all the time in the NFL. If there's one injury, all of a sudden, the backup comes in. The backup's the guy with the promise, has a good game or a good 2 games, and then they become the starter the rest of the season with like no fault of the starter at all, outside of getting injured. So I could totally see a situation like that happening. But I think if Matt Pryor is healthy for all 17 games, he will be the starter. And, Bernhard Raimann's the guy of the future, and I really like the progression that we've seen from Bernhard Raimann. We saw week 1 in the preseason. It didn't look great. It looked, he needs to adjust to having short arms. It's one way to put it. And Braden Smith was the same way. Braden Smith back in 2018, you could tell that he wasn't fully there. Even though he had a great season, didn't allow many sacks, the Colts had to help him on a lot of snaps because he just wasn't ready. He didn't really know how to adjust to having shorter arms and stuff like that at tackle. Because, having short arms at tackle is a real thing. It's a real issue. That's why it's talked about. I think Raimann had to learn that, and I think we saw a lot of good progression from preseason 1 to preseason week 2 and 3. But the next step is obviously making that a consistent thing where his athleticism and his hand usage kind of always overcomes the shorter arms and stuff like that. So I do think he's well on his way, but I think it's going to be Matt Pryor's season. I think Matt Pryor is going to be a good left tackle for the team. Steve Oaktree. So Zach, I don't know who that Zach is. Z-A-C-H. Z-A-C-H. I should actually... Wait. No. Okay, never mind. I thought I could put my my name back on there, but I guess not. So Zach, who will be Ryan's Kyle Pitts this season? Granson Woods or Michael Pittman Jr.? Michael Pittman Jr. will be the Kyle Pitts. He's going to be the guy who gets the most catches and the most yards and the flashiest plays. I really like Kylan Granson. Honestly, I think one of the bold takes I almost went with for our podcast yesterday, or I guess our podcast that came out this morning, was I almost said Kylan Granson, the third leading receiver on the team. And I know that's not that bold of a take, but I could see Kylan Granson getting 500, maybe 600 yards receiving this year, because if he can just catch the ball, if he could just be more consistent catching the ball, the sky's the limit with him. I mean, we saw a lot in this preseason. The Colts are running 3-by-1 sets, and they were having Granson backside all by himself against a safety or a linebacker or maybe a nickel corner. And it's a tight end who moves like him. That's such a mismatch. So I really do like Kylan Granson. I think Kylan Granson can have a really good season. Just please catch the ball when it's thrown your way. That's all I ask. But if you're going for the pure volume guy, the guy who's probably been good for like fantasy football and stuff, it's going to be Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, he's the guy. I think it's more likely that Michael Pittman Jr. climbs from being, Michael Pittman Jr. right now is probably like a fringe top 20 receiver, around like a top 20 receiver in football. I think it's more likely he climbs up to the top 10 ranks than an Alec Pierce or Paris Campbell breaks out for like 1,000 yards. I think we're more likely to see the more efficient volume from Michael Pittman Jr. Dylan Green, next step is for Zach to get a Blankenship jersey. Again, if we do more challenges and stuff, guys, I don't know if we do more challenges and stuff, maybe we'll get a Blankenship jersey in here. I hope not. Oh man, I hate kickers so much. I really don't. Blankenship seems like a cool dude, though. I mean, I almost had a chance to interview him a couple years ago, so he seems like a cool guy. It's just kickers, man, kickers. Will Megastron have an active role in the offense? What's your definition of active? I could see him maybe being what Ashton Doolin was in the offense last year, where it's like, maybe 10 snaps a game. If there's an injury, get up to 20 or 30 snaps a game. I don't expect it to be super active, though. Again, there's 4 guys ahead of him, maybe 5 with Des Pittman, depending on how much Pittman impresses in practices this year. So, again, there could be 5 guys ahead of him. So I don't know. If he hits like 300 yards receiving, if he hits 200 yards receiving this year, I'd call that a very successful year 2 for a 7, or I think it was a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick or whatever out of a small school. If he has like 200 yards receiving this year, it's a pretty successful year for him. Keenan. My mildly spicy take is Jags second in the division. I could see it. I could definitely see it. I never want to count the Titans out because they have great coaching. They have a running back who I'm not ready to say he's regressed, even though last year was a step back for him. I like their defensive backs and I like their D-line. I don't know. There's a lot to like about the Titans. It's just I understand the doubts that people are having. So, I mean, I could see the Jags going second, especially when you got to factor in the Titans are playing a first-place schedule and the Jaguars are playing a last-place schedule. So that's something there. So I could see it. I'm not going to count the Titans out, though. Steve Oaktree, Colts, Jags, Titans, Texans. Again, I could totally see it. I could see kind of any order with those top 3 teams. I just feel confident the Texans beat 4th, but they could surprise. What do you think the snap count will be? God, I can't read. What do you think the snap count will be at safety between McLeod and Cross? I would say early on, I think what we'll see a lot of is it's kind of how the Colts do a lot of rotations on defense, actually, is you'll see what's called like 2 series on, 1 series off. So I think we'll see a lot of, Cross will get 2 series in a row, and then the 3rd series will be McLeod coming in, and he'll have that 1 series. And then it'll go back to Cross for 2 series, and then back to McLeod for 1 series. That's what the Colts did with Isaiah Rodgers and Rock Ya-Sin last year. They had Rock for 2, Rodgers in for 1 when everybody was healthy. I would argue that it should have been Rhodes coming off for 1 for Rodgers, but, beggars can't be choosers there. We got Rodgers and Rock on the field together a little bit. But Yeah, I think it'll be something like that for a good bit of the year. Maybe if Cross takes over and starts looking like a star, you'll see Cross getting maybe 3-1, or maybe Cross getting all of them. But McLeod will play a lot. McLeod will be out there a good bit. I'm not too worried about his playing time this year. Joe O'Brien, how many snaps do you expect Banagoo to get each game? Maybe like 5 to 10. Because right now, I mean, he's either the 5th or the 6th edge rusher. So maybe if Tyquan Lewis and Dio Dambo, if you count them more as interior guys on pass rush, you get more Ben Banagoo snaps. But I could see maybe 5, 10, maybe 15 if it's a heavy passing game. Obviously, if there's an injury, he's the next guy up there at the Leo position. So, he'll have more opportunity in this defense. But, at this point, you don't want Yannick Ngakoue to come off the field too much, and they're higher on Tyquan Lewis and Dio Dangbo right now than they are on Ben Banagoo. So if they're going to play those two guys at edge, that kind of limits where Banagoo get on the field. But I could see, 5, 10, maybe 15 in a heavy passing game. I think he had 15 against the Ravens last year, and that was, on a defense where he wasn't really playing. So you could see some games where he gets a little higher. Gary Thompson, who will be the second leading receiver? So if we think that, if we're counting only receivers, I will say Alec Pierce. I really like Alec Pierce. I really like the progression that he's shown. And I think the Colts are going to try to get him more involved this year than they've typically gotten rookie receivers. If we're saying second leading pass catcher, I think Nyheim Hines is almost a lock for that. As long as he stays healthy, I think Hines is going to have a huge role. If you guys want to see my bold take on Nyheim Hines, check out the podcast from earlier today on the channel. I think I said over 75 catches, no, over 80 catches, I think this year was my bold take for the season. But I'm sky high on Nyheim Hines, and I think he's going to get the ball quite a bit this season. Max Houghton, talk on Colts Twitter today. Who will be the most insufferable fan if the Colts win the Super Bowl? Oh, it's always Canan. I don't know. We got to talk about, because here's the thing. Keenan, Kasenko. The thing with him, and I know he's in here too, so that's why I got to say it, is he'll throw like graphs and charts at you while celebrating. So it's not even just like a haha, we're better than you. It's like I will show you every bit of evidence. Lucas is the same way. Lucas Robbins, I think is his name. They just throw so many charts at you, and then Canan for sure, because he'll throw memes at you too. He'll throw a bunch of memes and quotes at you, and so yeah, it's Canan. It's definitely Canan. Oh man, Allison Silva. If I said your name wrong, please correct me there. What first play would you like to see right call against the Texans? I don't know, something quick to JT. Maybe like a little swing pass to Jonathan Taylor. Like, I just want to see Taylor with the ball in space to start the season. I know some people are always like, oh, running backs suck. Don't give the ball to running backs. But like, look, Jonathan Taylor's a weapon. Just get him the ball in space and let him go. So a little swing pass or a toss play or something to get him the ball in some space. Just do that. I think that's a good plan. Who's your hidden X factor on offense and defense you're not really talking about? Well, offense, I kind of already mentioned it. I said Kylan Granson earlier. I think Kylan Granson is a sneaky pick for, again, like a 500, 600-yard season, as long as he catches the ball. Please, Kylan Granson, just catch the ball this year. That's all I ask. Defense X factor. That is interesting. I mean, a guy we're really not talking about who's going to get a lot of run, I think, early in the season because Shaquille Leonard is out is going to be Zaire Franklin or EJ Speed, one of those guys. So I'll kind of mix those two together. But Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, for the Colts to kind of avoid the slow September start, they're going to need one or two of those guys to step up. And I think both of them are capable, very athletic linebackers. EJ Speed does not look like he belongs on the field in the preseason because he's just that much better than the guys he's going against. And Zaire Franklin is just a missile every time he's out there. So I think those are your two X factors, at least early in the season with Shaquille Leonard dealing with injury. How good can those guys be? And do they limit the defense whatsoever? Because if they're, again, I'm not going to say they're going to be as good as Shaquille Leonard, but if they're playing well, the Colts should be fine in these first couple games and have a good chance to start the season, 3-1 or 4-0. So yeah, I think those are your X factors on defense, especially early on. Active on game day. I'm sure that's about Ben Banagoo. How many retweets for Rex Ryan's Mark Sanchez tattoo style on Blankenship? Blankenship tattoo? I don't even know does Rex Ryan have a Mark Sanchez tattoo? Is that true? There's no way. Let me see this. Oh my gosh. What? What is that? What is that? Ew. That's next level obsession. I mean, I get if you would have won a Super Bowl for you, but he just got you to some championship games. Like, oh man. How many retweets? We're gonna go like 500,000 retweets for that. I mean, come on, there's no way. This is the only tattoo I have, and I can't afford another one right now. But we're gonna go more like this. We're not gonna go stuff like I can't believe it's his wife in the Sanchez jersey. Oh my god! So what? You want like a picture of my wife in a Blankenship jersey? Like no, I didn't know that was a thing. Oh my gosh, that's so weird. David Lewis asks, "Is Pierce going to be impactful in Week 1?" I think it's going to be. I define impactful. I don't think it's going to be like a 100-yard game or anything like that, but you could see like, 4 catches for 50 yards or 4 catches for 40 yards or something like that when Pittman Jr. is getting a lot of the looks or Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines getting looks. I think it's going to be just a very steady other option in the offense. So I'm not going to say like impactful like he has 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he'll have an impact on the offense in Week 1. I think I feel safe saying that. Oh man! All right, Rahul Hore. Again, if I'm saying your name wrong, please let me know because I'm not great with pronunciation. You guys saw me on the podcast saying Elias instead of Elias for that one whole ad read. Jake didn't tell me until after the show. I'm like, wow, I'm going to sound like an idiot this week. How spicy of a take would it be to predict that Dio has more sacks this season than Quiddy? I think it's like middling level spice. I think Quiddy is going to just get a lot more playing time. So obviously there's going to be more opportunities for Quiddy. But if Dio can overtake Tyquan Lewis for that 4th rusher in basic pass down, that other interior rusher next to DeForest Buckner, Dio would get so many one-on-one opportunities. And Dio is so interesting. He's so interesting because he is a special athlete. Like we could talk about guys being great athletes or amazing athletes, but Dio Dangbo is special in the way he moves. His size with his length and just how ferocious he is as a pass rusher, it's unmatched. I mean, when he finally learns to hone that in, which he will, and I don't know how long it's going to take, but he'll eventually get to a point where he's feeling comfortable with a couple moves and he's feeling comfortable with what he's doing. When he hones that in, he's going to be a wrecking ball. So if he can lock down that 4th rusher spot, I don't think it's that spicy of a take, but I think as of right now, it's a little spicy because I do think Tyquan Lewis is probably the leader for that 4th rushing role. Would you be surprised if the Week 1 streak extends to 0-9? I mean, I'd be shocked. Not extremely surprised because we know with this Colts team, Week 1 is tough to win somehow. But I would be surprised because I think the Texans are probably a bottom 5 team, and we gotta also put it in perspective. I mean, I know the Texans got some more talent. Kenyon Green's coming in. Damian Pierce at running back, Derek Stingley at corner, Jalen Petrie at safety. They have a lot of good things going for them, but the Colts last year outscored the Texans 62-3 in 2 games. Like, we're not talking like these teams were not even somewhat close last year in level of play, and that was with the Colts having inconsistency at quarterback and that's with the Colts not having Stephon Gilmore, not having Yannick Ngakoue. So, I'm not going to predict here that they're going to come out Week 1 and just blow the doors off the Texans, but I I'd be shocked if the Texans won that game. I mean, again, the Colts were on just a different level from them last season. And I don't think the Texans improved that much to where, the Texans are going to come out and beat them, So, I mean, weirder things have happened in football. The Colts had a play-in game for the playoffs against the worst team in football, and they lost. So, obviously, weirder things can happen, but I'd be shocked if they lost to the Texans in week 1. Closer on the last name, which is more difficult. Kosenko! Dude, I don't know. Kenyan. I don't know. If I'm offending you, man, please let me know. But I think part of the fun is that I'm not trying to learn your name and just saying random sounds with it. Oh, man. Dominique. Oh, gosh. Dominic Sigoloti. Sigoloti. Please yell at me. I'm so sorry. Didn't watch any Falcons game last year. Which level of play should we expect from Matt Ryan? I think it's going to be solid Matt Ryan this year. I'm not going to say he's going to be MVP Matt Ryan, but I think it's reasonable to expect him to be back to 2018, 2019 Matt Ryan. And it's dangerous saying this stuff because we were all saying, oh, it's reasonable for Carson Wentz to get back to 2019 or 2018 Carson Wentz. I know we just said this with Carson Wentz. But we're talking about last year, honestly, Matt Ryan was not bad until the halfway point. Everything just kind of collapsed for that entire team at the halfway point. I mean, they lost Calvin Ridley. Cordarrelle Patterson went from an anomaly at running back that was like, oh my gosh, Cordarrelle Patterson's so good, to being a literal no factor in that offense. The O-line just corroded, and Matt Ryan's play suffered. But in that first half of the year, he was really good. We're not going back with Carson Wentz where we have to go back 3-4 years to be like, oh, let's hope he hits that. I just want Matt Ryan to be as good as he was at the first half of last season. I mean, it was like a 6-7 game stretch early last year against, the Saints were in there. I think the Bucs might have been in there as well. There were some good defenses where he was one of the better quarterbacks in football. I think that's reasonable to expect. Around a 4,000-yard season, around 25, 28, maybe up to 30 touchdowns, low interceptions around the 9-10, range. I think that's reasonable to expect out of Matt Ryan, and that will elevate this Colts team higher than what they've been these last couple seasons. So I really expect good things out of Matt Ryan. I think his level of play coming to the Colts is better than what Phillip Rivers was coming to the Colts. Now, will it be better? Will we say it was better after the season? That's still to be seen. Agree that Lewis will outsnap Dio early on, but that Dio will outsnap Lewis by the end of the year. I'm going to say Lewis has more snaps by the end of the season, but I think it'll be closer than what it looks in the first couple games. I think in the first couple games, it'll probably be like a 70-30 split. It'll be pretty obvious that Lewis is the guy early on, but I think by the end of the year, it'll be closer to 50-50. I think Dio, once he starts figuring some things out, it'll be pretty nasty. I like it. I want Dio to work out so bad. He's just freaky, man. Level of confidence the Colts will get that second rounder from Washington football team. WFC. They're the Commanders now. Washington Football Commanders or something. Or does WC, I guess. Washington Commanders. I don't know. I'm pretty confident. They're one of those teams that are prideful and a team that, it's kind of like the Colts last year with that first round pick. There was never a time last season where we thought the Colts were going to have that first round pick. Even when they were sucking early in the season, they kept saying we're going to keep playing them. And it's like, well, okay, if you keep losing, you shouldn't play him. But they kept rolling him out there, and obviously they turned it around a little bit. But I think the Colts are going to get that second round. I don't think Washington's that bad. I don't think they're a good team. I think they're like a third in that division, probably like a 7-8 win team. But I don't think they're like a 3 or 4 win team to where you start benching guys late in the season. So I think the Colts will have that second round pick. Shout out, Robert Vincent, shout out from the UK. It's 12:30 here, but still going on strong. Who will return kickoffs? Rodgers, Flowers, or maybe Doolin? Will Hines return punts? Robert, first off, I go to the UK whenever I watch films. It's a love country. So we do love seeing UK there, but 12:30 a.m. that's the perfect time to watch a YouTube video. So I'm glad that you were able to join the chat here. Return kickoffs, I think Flowers or Rogers. I could see either one. Rogers Sr. He wants to go by Isaiah Rogers Sr. now. So Isaiah Rogers Sr. or Dallas Flowers, I think will be. I don't know if we'll see much of Doolin at all returning kicks, but I could see either way with those guys. There might be some games where Flowers is maybe inactive because, again, he is the bottom of the roster corner. But I do think, both those guys will probably see some time back there. And then Hines return punts. I think probably I can't see anyone else really returning them. Again, maybe Dallas Flowers gets back there, but I think it'll be Hines. Oh, 1 second. In case you guys didn't know, Trevor Denbo's mother-in-law is the coach on that Netflix show called Cheer. I don't know if you guys have watched it at all. So that Netflix show called Cheer, Monica Aldama, whatever. But yeah, she keeps messaging me for updates on Trevor Denbo, and I'm like, dude, just talk to her agent. But no, she's awesome. She's really nice. The whole family's great. But yeah, no, if you guys have ever watched Cheer on Netflix, a Colts player is involved with that a little bit. His mother-in-law is the coach, so it's a cool little bit of info there. How long do you think it takes for the offensive line to mesh? I'm honestly more worried about Danny Pinter at right guard than I think I am at Matt Pryor at left tackle. Just because Pinter has had some moments in the preseason where I've seen him get blown off the ball, and I'm just a little nervous about it. So, I think it could take a little bit. I mean, O-line meshing, it takes a bit because, you play as a whole unit. People don't realize that offensive line is, football as its whole is a sum of its parts, but offensive line in particular really is. Like, if one part of that offensive line is terrible, it's going to bring down the whole unit. That's why people always say you want to get the best 5 guys out there, because you don't want to leave like a weaker link out there just because, they typically play that right guard or something. So I think it'll take a bit for them to mesh, but at the end of the day, I was arguing with some Titans guy about this the other day. The Colts still have 3 Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen. One that's a perennial All-Pro, Braden Smith, who's a really good right tackle, and Ryan Kelly, who, he's had some down seasons, but he is, he's still a really good center. So I think they have a lot of talent in the offensive line, and it's just about Pinter and Pryor being solid. They don't have to be amazing. They just have to be solid, and they'll be fine. So I'm not too worried about the O-line. I'm a little worried, but not too worried. My boy Jake with the sleeveless shirt. Yeah, dude, I gotta show up now. It's so hot, man. It's just so hot all the time. So I'm just wearing sleeveless because it feels like the sleeves just stick on my arms. I'm not trying to show off or anything. I know I always get that, like at work, I'll roll up my sleeves and people will be like, "Oh, why are you trying to show off?" I'm like, I'm just hot. Like it's just hot in here. I'm sweating. That's all it is. Oh man, Jake tried to get to 1,500 subs. Yeah, that's what the sleeveless is for. If we would have Jake Arthur on here if we wanted to get to 1,500. Could you imagine him sleeveless? We'd be looking at like 700 comments and everything like that. Augustine Ramirez. Hi Zach, keep up the great Colts content you provide us. Do you think Will Fries is 1-2 bad or Pinter's bad games away from claiming the right guard job? Panama City, Panama. That's cool. Yeah, we appreciate you join here and then listening to the podcast too. That's awesome. Panama City. That's where that one Panama listener is from. That's cool. We can see kind of the metrics of where people are listening. So you can see a little bit in there in Panama. So that's cool, man. That's cool. We appreciate you listening to the show. But for right guard job, I could see Fries definitely getting in there a little bit. I think it could be a situation a lot like with Mark Glowinski and Chris Reed last year. Glowinski was the starter and he didn't really play poor. He wasn't struggling too much. He was just doing the Mark Glowinski thing where he's very solid. But when Chris Reed got out there for a couple snaps and a couple games, Chris Reed looked really good, like really good. So when Glowinski came back or when everybody was healthy, it became more of a rotation there at right guard. We could see that with Will Fries and Danny Pinter. And I think they're kind of very opposite players. I think Danny Pinter is going to be a better run blocker just because he's so athletic. can get out in space and stuff like that. I think he's going to be a better run blocker, but Will Fries is a much better pass blocker. So we could see a little bit of a rotation there. But as of right now, Will Fries is that Chris Reed, and I feel really good about it. Will Fries looked really good this offseason. So again, thank you for listening from Panama, man. That's awesome. And Will Fries, man, if he takes over that right guard spot, I will be insufferable. I love Will Fries. That dude is awesome. So I hope he gets some run there. Do you think... Darren Foss, do you think Taylor will ever top his sophomore season? I mean, he was nearly. It took a wide receiver breaking the catch record and receiving yard record to beat him out for offensive player of the year. So it would be tough to top that season, but I think we could see more efficiency even from Taylor. And that's crazy to say because I think Taylor last year was like 5.5 yards a carry. That's absurd to say we could see more efficiency, but I think we could see more. When I say more efficiency, I could say more like less carries, maybe like the same amount of yards yards on the ground in terms of efficiency, but more in the passing game, more catches, more yards after catch, more yards per reception. So I think we could see him be more efficient with his overall yards, but it's going to be hard to top what he did on the ground last year, especially with the red zone success he had last season. He was so successful in the red zone, and that's just tough to beat. So, I mean, he could top it, but he'd probably be getting up to like all-time great status if he keeps topping what he just did this past season, because that was a great season. It was a special season. What team is the worst matchup for the Colts? Probably the Chiefs. The Chiefs are everyone's worst matchup. Again, Gus Bradley, I think, is a little underrated league-wide. I don't think Gus Bradley is like a bad coordinator where some people are really low on him. But I think the Chiefs scored like 100-something points on the Raiders last season in 2 matchups, like the 100-something points total. And I know people keep wanting to say like, oh, Brady's the best quarterback still, and Rodgers the best quarterback, and Josh Allen's the best quarterback, Justin Herbert. Pat Mahomes is freaky, man. He's special. I don't ever want to play against him. I want to avoid that matchup as much as possible. So for as long as Pat Mahomes is in the NFL, the Chiefs are the worst matchup because I just don't want to touch that team. So hopefully they play everyone. I know they play the Chiefs early in the season, but hopefully come like playoff time, they're playing anybody else but the Chiefs. Like, just don't give me the Chiefs again. Who do you think eventually earns a starting outside corner spot between Faison and Rodgers? I think Faison's already kind of won it. Coleman High, by the way, was one to ask that question. Thank you for the question there. I think Brandon Faison's going to be the outside corner too to kind of start the season. And then Isaiah Rodgers Sr. will kind of rotate in. Again, I think it'll be more of like what we saw last year, a 2-to-1 situation, two series for Faison, 1 for Rodgers Sr., and that'll kind of be how that rotation goes. But Isaiah Rodgers Sr. will play a lot this season. It's going to be like last season. He played a lot. I think he'll play a good chunk of snaps this year, so I'm not too worried about his playing time. Jake Arthur sleeveless. Don't tease me with a good time. Again, he's a family man, but he's got those guns under there. So we gotta see all that. What's up, Zach? Hello from Taiwan. 7:30 a.m. here. Well, get your coffee. I know I don't like coffee, but get your coffee. We appreciate you jumping on the show. Who will be the first to back up Buckner? Cowart, Taekwon, Dio, or somebody else? I think it's going to be Taekwon Lewis in a lot of those situations. I think he'll come in and be that rotational 3 tech. I'm more worried about the rotation at 1 tech right now, but I think Taekwon Lewis is probably your first rotation at 3 tech, and then Dio Dangbo would probably be your next rotation there. But they're going to have a good rotation there at 3 tech. You don't want to have Buckner get run into the ground and not be DeForest Buckner by late in the season. So great question. Thank you for jumping in from Taiwan, and we appreciate you always checking out the show out from out there. That's awesome, man. We really appreciate that. Wait, where's the coffee? Shad, I'm not drinking coffee again. Screw that. My wife was asking. She was like, "Oh, do you want me to make coffee for your live stream?" And I was like, "No." They said, "I'll put decaf. I'll make it decaf." I was like, "Nope. Decaffeinated dirt is not. It's still not good." So yeah, no. Jake, you just missed Zach saying Isaiah Rodgers Sr. will be cornerback 1 by a mile on the Colts. Yeah, if Grover Stewart misses a game, we might be toast. But I'm still holding out hope, man. Sign Malcolm Brown, and I'm feeling a little better. I'm not saying Malcolm Brown is this great defensive tackle, but had a lot of good moments. So I think Malcolm Brown would be a good rotational one tech. I'm not drunk. This is my second light beer of the day. Come on. Oh man, Robert Vincent. When injury to one of the top 4 guys at wide receiver forced Ballard to sign Ty with the lack of depth. I wouldn't say force, but I do think it would be something explored. Not just Ty either. It could be like Emmanuel Sanders or someone like that too. There's a couple guys out there with some experience, but I think for right now the plan is to let the young guys go out there and run around and see what they can do. And if there's struggles or an injury, knock on wood, Paris Campbell has not always been the healthiest guy, so hopefully he could stay healthy. But I think if there were an injury up there, they would consider signing a vet. But for right now, they're going to roll with those guys. Yeah, Eric Johnson, I like Eric Johnson's potential. I don't think he's ready yet. And that's not a negative. I know some players take that as a negative when you say that, but I don't think he's ready yet for real snaps or for like a good amount of snaps. But I do think Eric Johnson has some potential. So I do think long-term Eric Johnson will be pretty solid. He reminds me a lot of when Grover first came to the Colts. When Grover first came to the Colts, he was this big-bodied, explosive, powerful guy. He just didn't know what he was doing yet. And then when that clicked in year 3, I think it was, year 3, 2019 is when that clicked. So 17, 18, 19, year 3. When it clicked, from that point on, he was one of the top 5, top 10, nose tackle, one tech guys in football. I'm not saying Eric Johnson will be that, but I think when it clicks, he'll be really solid for the team. Where do you rank Michael Pittman Jr. league wide? I would say in like the top 20 range. It's kind of tough. I think if you go wide, if you go wide receiver ones for every team, I think there's a lot of guys in a similar tier with him. I think just looking in the Colts division, for instance, I think like a Brandon Cooks is kind of in a similar tier as him, where Cooks has been productive his whole career. So how much do you put a guy with 1,000-yard season above him? I think a guy like Robert Woods has been really solid for most of his career. It's kind of hard to definitively put Michael Pittman Jr. ahead of him. I think I want to see one more big season from him before I start feeling good about where I put him, because it's like we saw the one great season, and we saw his rookie year where there's a lot of promise. Now, can he keep building and keep ascending, or is it going to just stay around that level? If it stays what it was last year, that's really good. That's good. If it ascends to another level, that's, top 10, top 15 receiver. So it's all about seeing where he can go from here. So it's hard to rank him at the moment, but I would say, like a fringe top 20 guy. He's definitely a wide receiver 1, I think. So I don't know if that's underrating him right now. I think he's really good, but he's firmly wide receiver 1, like mid-tier wide receiver 1 for me. What do you think about the internationalization of the NFL? Internationalization of the NFL. I would love to go to a game here in Brazil. I think it would be awesome for them to get games everywhere. I was the kind of guy, when I played Madden growing up, I would always put my team in Dublin, Ireland, just because it's just fun to talk about, football games in other countries. But yeah, no, the NFL, they've put it in Mexico City, I think. They've done games in the UK. I think they've talked about Ireland before. I don't think they've done one in Ireland. I think there was a college game that was just in Ireland. So I love it. I love it. Make football more worldwide. It's a sport where we love it so much here in the States, but it's not really a worldwide sport. People across the world watch it, but it's not really like a prominent, there's German leagues that are pretty big. Canadian football has some popularity, but it's not really something that's, it's not like soccer or anything like that worldwide where everyone's loving it. Soccer or football. So I would love to see the NFL become more of a worldwide brand. And I think that's what the NFL wants to do. So I think we are getting there. And yeah, a game in Brazil would be awesome. I don't think it would be too crazy to ask for that either. So yeah, Philippe, I know, would be really big on that too. Philippe Costa. I know he's not here tonight with us, but that would be cool to see a game in Brazil. Just get it more global. Get football out there. Get them in Manchester, UK for a bit. Yeah, I mean, get them everywhere, man. Football should be played everywhere. Love football. At least get a college game out there. And how excited are you for the return of Mesh? Carson Wentz didn't really love his underneath throws, so I'm excited just to return of run after catch. It should be called the sorry about the burp there. It should be called the return of yards after catch. Return of the yak, the return of the rack, the runs after catch. That's what we really should be excited about. Just getting more guys moving after they get the ball in their hands. I think that's going to be more important. Serious time. In a world where more teams are adopting the Fangio 2 high defense, how comfortable are you with Gus still playing the single high and putting a lot of stress on the secondary against the pass? Yeah, it's an interesting debate. You always want to be ahead of the trends when it comes to the NFL, because we've seen a lot with the NFL is when these trends come up. We had the Tampa 2 in the early 2000s where early in 2000s, Tampa 2 was dominating the NFL. That, having a rangy middle linebacker, having a good pass rush, and having guys just kind of sit back. And then we got to the Seattle cover 3, where you're having this single high safety, and then you were having a strong safety in the box who was just wrecking everybody's day. And now we're getting the Fangio, extremely versatile, 2 high kind of quarters type defenses. And that's kind of where the NFL is going. And you don't want to be behind a trend when it comes to the NFL, because you'll be just lost in the scuffle when things keep accelerating, keep going a different way. But I think with Gus Bradley, for all the lack of innovation that people talk about, where he's still a single high guy in a league that's predominantly 2 high, we have seen some growth from him. We have seen him go more towards coverage matching, going more towards these zones are so fluid now. It's not just zone coverage; it's a lot of man coverage within their zones. So it's hard to say, they're just always calling zone. They're always sitting back. No, they're matching a lot of routes. They're carrying a lot of routes down the field. They're making things easier for that safety than what it would have been in a traditional Seattle cover 3. So I think there is some concern, in a league where all the best defenses are 2 high Fangio type defenses. Why do you want to have the single high guy? But I think it's about how you attack offenses, how you get your defensive line to attack, obviously. And it's about how you are adjusting to the modern NFL. And I do think his defenses are adjusting. It's just at a different way than Fangio's 2 high defenses are. So I think there's a lot of good things still with Gus Bradley. And I don't think it's too worrying just saying single high versus 2 high. But he does do a lot of things that are innovative and are new. It's just not, again, following the common trend of, Fangio's perfect, and Fangio's great. I'm not trying to say Fangio sucks at all. Like, Fangio's amazing. So yeah, having the Fangio defense are great, but I still like a lot of what Gus Bradley does. The kid, Alec Pierce stat line in week 1. I think I said this earlier. I would say maybe like 4 catches. I'll say 4 catches, 45 yards, maybe a touchdown. I'll say just 4 for 45. Nothing special, but I think a good solid stat line as like their 3rd or 4th option in the passing game in that one. So I think that'll be solid. It sucks to be an NFL fan from Asia. Games start around 2 a.m., 5 a.m., and 8 a.m. Monday morning. Yeah, I've always said the best place to be a fan for the NFL is on the West Coast, because then your whole entire day is just all football, and then you get to bed at a reasonable time. On the East Coast here, I'm on the East Coast. I'm not trying to – obviously, I don't have it as bad as you, but on the East Coast, these late games sometimes you don't want to stay up for because they finish at like midnight. I remember being a kid, I couldn't stay up for a lot of games because they would finish at midnight, or I couldn't watch a lot of Super Bowls when I was a really little kid because they would finish, midnight, 1 a.m. or something like that. So it does suck, obviously, internationally too, for you guys, where, you wake up in the morning and your favorite team's already finished, so it absolutely blows. And yeah, it would be cool to at least get a game out there for you guys or in your time zone. So it's like, oh, cool, we have a primetime game for us. But the NFL would have to be so sure that they're going to get a good market out there, which I think they would. I mean, Asia is a great market for everything. I say this obviously as a huge anime fan. So I mean, obviously Asia is a great market for a lot of things. I would love to see the NFL expand more to the Asian markets, because I do think they can do a lot of great things out there. JT carries over under. I'm going to say under. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, I think under on carries. I don't think the Colts wanted to be as run heavy as they were late last season. It's just, it just kind of happened that way. I'll say that to be a little bit nice there, but I do think they want Jonathan Taylor to be a little bit lower on carries this season. So I'm gonna say under by a good amount. Not like 100 carries less, but maybe like 50 carries fewer. West Coast supremacy. Yeah, West Coast supremacy is definitely there when it comes to the NFL. 100%. Yeah, Pacific time for sure. Proud of Zach for being unabashed anime fan. Like, look, I'll be honest, real quick. I'm not going to go into a long thing with this because I know you guys mostly want to talk about Colts. But when I was a kid, there was I had social anxiety disorder growing up. Like, I was very closed off, quiet. And with social anxiety disorder, it doesn't mean you're just shy. It means like you view yourself so low that like everything you do is wrong. So I was watching what everyone else is doing, and I was just following what everybody else was doing, because I was like, that's the normal thing. I don't want to be not normal. So things like anime or the political opinions I have now and other interests I have, or, stuff like that was all wrong, so I was never a fan. But once I got like medicated and met my wife and was more comfortable with myself, I stopped caring what other people think. And I'll, if that means half my Twitter profile stuff is going to say how much I like anime or some animes I like and stuff, I don't care. Like, I'll get people in my comments. I got DMs or whatever, people saying like, oh yeah, you seem like that kind of idiot. I'm like, yeah, I mean, sure. That's fine. So yeah, I'm unabashed fan of whatever I'm a fan of, unabashed fan of punk music, unabashed fan of anime, unabashed fan of not coffee. I mean, whatever. I don't really care anymore. So, I'd much rather be just confident in the takes I have than being someone who's scared to say what they like. So, a very unabashed anime fan for sure. Is Super Bowl too far out of the realm of reality for this team, or is it actually realistic? Realistic is a weird term because all you have to do is get in the race in the postseason, and it's realistic. We've seen, teams like the Ravens back when they won it in 2012, I think. 2012. No. The other one they won. I don't know. The Flacco year. Things were crazy when they won it. That might have been 2012. No, we had the Flacco year where they go to the Super Bowl and win it. We have the Giants team in 2007 that beats the undefeated Patriots to the Super Bowl when they were a 6 seed going into the playoffs. We have the Bengals last year. Their offense was statistically one of the worst playoff offenses ever. They were terrible. Their offense was falling apart for most of the playoffs, but their defense was forcing turnovers at such an absurd rate that they were able to walk into the Super Bowl. And they had a chance in that game. The Rams were a better team, but they had a chance. So all it takes, you just got to get into the dance and you have a chance. So realistic, as long as you say the playoffs are realistic for the Colts and there's a good chance they make the playoffs, then yeah, a Super Bowl is definitely realistic. Would I rather have Pat Mahomes or Justin Herbert or Josh Allen come playoff time? Yeah, 100%. But just get to the dance and you have a chance. So I think they can. You're given one team in the NFL to fix a GM, CEO, czar. What team would you pick? Why? And what's your first move? One team to fix. So I'd probably want a bad team with a lot of draft capital. What team? I mean, the Texans would be a fun one. And I'd be a hero because I guess I wouldn't be like the owner. So that owner would still be there with them. I don't know. That's a good one. That's a good question there. I'm not too sure. I mean, you want to be a team with a good amount of picks, I think, because that's just more fun. Seahawks would be a fun one. I liked the Seahawks a lot as a kid, and I think they have a lot of impressive talent. I mean, I think they have their bookend tackles for the future, and they're probably going to be a bad enough team where they could get a high pick and get, whoever, one of those top, CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. I don't know. That's a good one. I got to think about that one a little bit, but that's a good question. Everyone. Oh gosh, what did Max say on here? Max tweeting here now. Oh yeah, Max on Twitter was just mentioning the Bengals conversation. The Bengals were not a great team in the playoff going into the play, or they were good throughout the year. They were not great in the playoffs. Just that defense was forcing so many turnovers, and I think any team can copy that. So yeah, I think any team that makes the playoffs can do that. It just takes a lot of luck. Do you think Reich believes that adding Hines to the passing game plus Ryan elevating the young receivers level outweighs whatever T.Y. brings to the table? Yeah, for sure. Look, T.Y. Hilton, awesome. T.Y. Hilton is a great receiver, arguably one of the best in franchise history. A nearly 10,000 yard receiver. That's no small accomplishment. And one of my favorite receivers in football. So it's tough to say that he's not who he was, but he's not who he was. He's not T.Y. Hilton of old. If you're bringing T.Y. Hilton back, you're probably looking at like a 300, 400 yard receiver. He's not going to be someone who even takes a top off the defense really anymore. So I think just getting Hines the ball more and having a guy like Ryan who can get the ball out quicker, I do think that kind of outweighs T.Y. Hilton. Now, again, if there's any injury, I'm cool with T.Y. coming back, but I don't really think there's much of a need for him right now. There's a lot of hand-wringing about this wide receiver group when it's not much better or worse than what they've always had. Exactly, yeah, pseudonym 284. Yeah, I mean, if you look at this wide receiver core, I would honestly say it's better than any of the receiver cores. Okay, if you look at this pass-catching group, it's better than what they've had every year under Frank Reich outside of 2018. And only 2018 was better because we still had prime T.Y. Hilton. Like outside of that, I mean, 2018, they literally had Dontrell Inman had to come in and be, their saving grace down the stretch. So they've had a lot of they've not had great receivers, and they've always had a fringe top 10. I mean, Phillip Rivers was the 11th passing game in the NFL. Andrew Luck was a top 10 passing game. Carson Wentz for a lot of the year until the last little stretch. The Colts were in like top 15. So I think they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Can the Colts become the defense of the decade? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be that good. I do really like this Colts defense. I think there's a lot of good talent. When Shaquille Leonard comes back, they're going to be a good defense. I don't know if they're going to be that good because, you're talking Legion of Boom in the 2010s or the Ravens of the 2000s. I mean, those are the greatest defenses of all time, arguably. Obviously, the 85 Bears. I think the 91 Washington football team was really good too. But, I don't know if they'll be that good. But I think they could be a good defense. You have the top 5 potential for sure. Like top 5 this year potential, not top 5 ever. Quick anime question. Yes. Send me all the anime questions. Top 3 so far from Virginia or from VA Top, by the way. Assuming that means Virginia. Also, please watch Spy X Family if you haven't. Yeah, I haven't watched Spy X Family. I do really want to watch it. Oh, okay. He had a follow-up thing. Virginia too. Okay, so Coleman High from Virginia. Hey, shout out to Virginia. We love it. But yeah, Spy X Family. I got to watch that one still. I really do want to watch that. But my top 3 anime in order right now is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, number 1. It's the one that really got me into anime. Number 2 is Steins Gate. Absolutely love Steins Gate. Okabe is the greatest main character there is. And number 3 is Parasite the Maxim. Incredibly dark anime with some really cool social commentary on humanity. But those are my top 3. Pretty much everything else about top 10 is like obscure anime that maybe not everybody else knows, but those are my top 3. They're pretty popular. But yeah, Spy X Family, I keep putting it off because I'm like, I know I'm going to love it and I'm going to want another season when it's not out yet. So I will definitely get to it. How about going to the Browns and getting rid of Watson? Yeah, I mean, that's a good choice. Yeah. That's so gross, man. It's so gross. Alex Cobb, you had to play a Sum 41 song on 3rd down. What would it be? Look, Joel Erickson had it right today on Twitter when he said Zach is the guy who likes the shows and stuff that networks go out and they cancel and stuff like that. He likes the obscure stuff. My favorite Sum 41 song, if you guys are Sum 41 fans that are watching this, is Mr. Amsterdam. I don't know if you guys, it's off of All Killer No Filler. It is, I think it's like 2.5 minutes long. It is just a banger of a song. It is an awesome song. It pumps me up all the time. I've been listening to it since high school, like before basketball games and stuff. So Mr. Amsterdam would be my song on 3rd down. But if we want to go more, more mainstream Sum 41 song, I would probably go with Still Waiting. Still Waiting is a great one there too. I'll never stray away from the path of the righteous again. Keenan. We're gonna call him Kenyon. Kenan. Oh gosh. Steins Gate is so good. Yeah, Steins Gate's awesome. For all 3 of you anime fans that are still watching this, Steins Gate is an outstanding anime. and it does time travel well. Not many shows in general do time travel well. So I absolutely love Steins Gate, one of my favorites. MCU's Wong went from Target sales associate to Supreme Sorcerer in 20 years. What are your plans? Look, that show, this is what I mean when TV shows are not an accurate representation of reality. Because people know it's actually a common thing here at Target that you can't go from sales associate to Sorcerer Supreme. You have to go from sales associate to market team leader, and then from market team leader to Sorcerer Supreme. He actually missed this step. I don't know. He probably had connections within corporate, but you have to show that you can handle the market team leader role, because it is kind of a tough place to be in charge of. But after that, you can jump up to Sorcerer Supreme. So 20 years is a little extreme. I've seen people do it in like 10, but that's because they had bachelor degrees, and you know how that does. So I think it's a good pipeline to get up to Sorcerer Supreme. And yeah, Mr. Amsterdam, that it's their best song, man. It's an absolute banger. I'm telling you, man. If people don't like Sum 41 or don't know Sum 41, they are more than just the In Too Deep band. They absolutely shred when they get up there. I mean, they're like faux metal. Like they're more metal than they are punk in a lot of their songs. And Mr. Amsterdam is a great example of just how like metal and heavy they could be. It's a great song. All right, guys. I think that's all we got. I'm shocked some of you guys lasted so long. I mean, yeah, we've had consistently 40, 50 viewers for this entire thing. A lot of great questions. I'm actually shocked that we kept it mostly Colts related, but I do appreciate, keeping it to one of my areas of expertise, asking about food or drink takes and stuff like that. So we'll try to do more stuff like this in the future, guys. This was a lot of fun. And again, shout out to all of you guys for how awesome you have been supporting this channel. Again, this was a little fun thing that we wanted to do with just all the support we've gotten. Again, 2 months, we got this channel from like 10 subscribers up to over 1,000. I mean, I think we're at like 1,100 right now. So you guys just keep that up, and we're going to keep doing fun things like this. And yeah, have you found that anime character that you're like, that's Zach Hicks? So it's not an anime character who is like Zach Hicks, but for an American animation show, Bob from Bob's Burgers is literally me. It's like looking in a mirror every time I see Bob from Bob's Burgers. So that's my character, who is Zach Hicks. Canyon. We appreciate it. But no, for all you guys that still listen there, for all you guys who listen to the show and watch it on YouTube here, again, just keep up that support. Make sure you guys are also following Jake Arthur NFL on Twitter and stuff too. He is my better half, the better one of the show. I just come on here and say stupid stuff all the time. But again, guys, this was because of how much we love you and how much you guys are showing support for the show. Keep it up, and we'll keep doing fun stuff like this in the future. So more to come here from Locked On Colts. But again, guys, we love you. Thank you very much.